Have I a right to be happy? Have you a right to be happy? Have you a right to be enlightened? Have I a right to be awake? Whose life is your life? Is it your life? Is my life your life? Is your life my life? Is my life my life? Only when you are awake, with a capital A, that you realize that life is just life. It's nobody's. No one owns life. Do I own the air that I breathe? Do you own the biscuit that I've just given you? Was it my biscuit before I gave it to you? And when does it become my biscuit? At the cash desk? Does it become my biscuit when it goes into the basket? Whose biscuit is it? When it's inside your stomach? How long does it remain, the biscuit, when it's inside your stomach? Do we own anything? Do I belong to anyone or anything? Do I belong here? Does a cow belong where it is? Why is that particular cow eating that bit of grass and not another cow eating that bit of grass? Is this plant mine? What's the purpose of a daffodil? What's the purpose of the thorns on a rose? When we are awake, we may not know the answers, like we know that 2 and 2 equals 4, but then again 2 and 2 could equal 3, depending on which numerical system you're using. Just because you are awake doesn't mean you have mental knowledge about the whole of life, but you have an intuitive knowledge. And that intuitive knowledge is felt to be the truth, that we are being lived, that life is just simply that. It's about being alive. You know, I'm always using the clenched fist and the open hand as the analogy. Consider a daffodil growing. You can see the daffodil growing, and then a week later you expect it to be in bloom, but it's not in bloom. Why not? Because in the soil, something started to eat the stem or the bulb. And that's what's happening when we're clenching. When we're doing this contraction in the body and the mind, we are preventing our body-mind to be blossoming, to flower as it should. From the conventional point of view, I am speaking. From the conventional point of view, I am lifting my hand. Or Peter is lifting his hand. If I was a puppet and Peter was a puppeteer and the hand was lifted by the string, then I would agree with you. Peter, the puppeteer, is lifting this hand. But no, I'm not speaking. I'm not lifting my hand. Show me this I that's speaking. It's happening. This is a happening. It's a happening, just as the fire there, the flames are happening. Do I ever see the same flame? I see similar flames, but is it the same as I saw a minute ago, a second ago? Is the air that I'm breathing now going to be the same air that I'm breathing in the next second? Do we ever see the waves? Are there waves? It looks as if there are waves in the ocean. Go and grab a wave. Go and box up a wave. Liberation means being liberated from all this attachment to the rules and the regulations and the equations and the 2 + 2s and the 5 - 4s or whatever. The recipes. Look at the recipes. There are so many different recipes for the same type of cake. The Mary Berry recipe, the Delia Smith recipe, the John Smith recipe, the David whatever recipe, and so on. There's millions of different recipe books out there. So similar the recipes are. They can't be. They're obviously going to be quite similar. There's only a certain number of things you can do with a piece of cod. That kind of knowledge is not inherent, intuitive knowledge. The knowledge I talk about is esoteric knowledge, hidden secrets. What did Jesus mean when he said, it will be far easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for you to get into the kingdom of heaven? What is stopping you from getting into the kingdom of heaven? He said, and so many teachers have said, and I will say the same thing, heaven is now. Hell and heaven are now. And in a twinkling of an eye, you can go from this to this. From this disposition to this disposition. Due to where your attention is. If this, by the way, it's for the cello spike. If this is God, and this is freedom, and if God says to you, put your attention on this constantly, you will become free and liberated. What he is saying is, you'll be free and liberated from this nonsense and all the patternings and tendencies and everything that this represents. By simply putting your attention on here constantly, if this is non-attention, this is attention. So you put your attention on this, then you don't, then you do, and you do, and then you don't for a while. And you keep returning. Instead of putting your attention on your first birth stuff, your narcissistic nonsense, that's the ruination of intimacy, ruination of relationships. The reason for why there are so many wars. This is at war with this. This is at war with this. This is always at war. Always. This is never at war. That doesn't mean you're going to walk over me just because I'm awake. I will discern, I will discriminate. I can see clearly. But there's nothing to defend. But it's just what happens is there are appropriate and inappropriate behaviours. Just because I'm free in the awakened state doesn't mean I'm going to do what I please. No, that's not true freedom. That's adolescent nonsense. That's rebelliousness. When we talk about freedom with a capital F, we are free of those adolescent tendencies to separate, to rebel, to go alone, to compete, to do your own thing all the time, and the childish wanting you to parent me and wanting me to be fulfilled by depending upon you to fulfill me. No, that's not freedom. Real freedom is freedom from all of that, where you're just still, where you're just consciousness, where you're at peace, where you are automatically intimate, where words will just flow from you, and you act according to whatever's needed in your vicinity. The floor is dirty, you clean it. Just do it. Whatever. The plug's broken, you repair it. Or you take responsibility for it and find someone to do something if you're unable to do that skill. But you're freed up from the conflict. You're freed up from the dilemma. So problems aren't problems. They are things that to be dealt with, but it's not a problem. It's just part of conditional existence. Because there are laws. There is a law, there's a conditional law. The conditional law is basically cause and effect. If I throw this up in the air, it'll come down. We know that. It won't stay up in the air. And then I catch it or I don't catch it. And if this is heavy enough to break something and it falls on that something, it'll break it. That's just the law of conditions, cause and effect. But the freedom that being awake is about is that you can embrace the cause and effects. You can see clearly the dualities of life. The ups and the downs, the ins and the outs. This is reminding me of a time when I went into a bar, a pub or club, and my friends were playing darts. And I'm not a dart player really, and my parents were. And they gave me the darts and said, do. And I immediately got a bullseye. So the conditions were right to get the bullseye. The conditions of that moment were right. And that just happened. There was no thought behind it. There was no anxiety behind it. It just happened. And we all have those moments in life, all of us. But we lose those moments. We interfere with that. We interfere with the divine living us, that disposition. We keep interfering with it by doing this self-contraction. It's as simple as that. Now, I am not 24/7, 100% awake. What I mean by that is I'm not awake 24/7. I still do that. Old habits die hard. But you notice it and you turn away from it. Keep turning away from the devil, if you like, from the first birth stuff. It comes with self-understanding. You understand that it's not conducive to well-being, it's not healthy, it's not conducive to relationships, it's not mature. It's childish and adolescent nonsense that we continue to dramatize as adults, so-called. You might be thinking, who am I pontificating? I don't think I'm pontificating. This is what I call sharing, and it's my job, if you like, to serve my friends and anyone who wishes to listen. And anyone who wishes to listen becomes my friend. And even if you don't listen. So people have asked me, what do I do? Oh, you can see what I do. I'm enjoying this, it's fun. Ooh! Can't see Mr. Tolle doing that. Eckhart Tolle. He has millions of hits on his videos, but he looks so boring and dried up. Doesn't seem to be any life in him. It's all head stuff with him. What Adidar teaches us and me is it's a bodily thing. It embraces all of life. Thank you for listening. I should keep these videos short, and then if I want to say something more, I'll put it on another video. Peace be with you. Om Shanti.